Good morning once again. We are really sorry. You can see we somehow have lapsed the time, but bear with us. Being our final AGM, I think we can take the pleasure of knowing that we can only have to hear this once, and then probably as we move on next, another team will be coming, and they will also have the same pleasure of doing the same thing that we have done. You will have to bear with me also. Remarks are going to be a conflation of the past 5 years, including what we have also been doing within the year. And I want to focus mostly on the results that we have actually delivered in our mandate as your union leaders. Mr. Chairman, my brothers and sisters in the chapter team, dear Honorable UASU UN members, I had also given the invitation to the national office. I have always made sure that I extend that same invitation to the national office continuously. And somehow, well, you can see they're not here. And maybe this is something that we need to remedy, because in your team here, this is the team that also needs to produce the national officials. And we want to remedy that within the next coming months. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to first thank all of you for taking your valuable time to attend the University of Nairobi UASU Chapter Annual General Meeting 2025. Now, indeed, 2025 is the final term of office for the current chapter leadership. And indeed, even the national leadership of UASU. And I want to take this earliest opportunity to thank you all, UASU members, for having granted the current office the honor of serving you. It's always going to be an honor. And I must admit, when we assumed office 4 years and exactly 4 months ago, 4 years and 4 months ago, the expectation to deliver on our mandate was purely driven out of our enthusiasm. However, this enthusiasm has morphed into duty. Then it became conviction. And as we serve the final months of our term, I believe we have really come of age in our mandate as unionists. I want you to remember, in our term of office, we have seen 3 vice chancellors, 3 university councils, and 2 chancellors. That is just how tumultuous it has been. And it has not been easy. We have also had a record 5 industrial actions, which has actually borne fruit. There's none of the industrial actions that we actually went through without bringing home something. Nevertheless, hard as it has been, I want you to trust us when we tell you we gave it a good shot. This year alone, we have had to contend with 2 industrial actions, coupled again with uncertainty in the leadership of the university. We have also had to contend with a broken infrastructure at our workplace. We've seen a stagnation on our pay slips. We remain very contentious about those pay slips stagnation, which are actually subject to litigation. Things like the housing levy, in as much as people might think it's already a foregone issue. And that's why I stand here today and say we keep working under duress. We are unmotivated, very often very frustrated. And and mostly unappreciated. But I want to tell you, UASU members, that in these dark times, I will keep reiterating the same line which I keep saying over and over again, that there is one essential component of unionism, which is small incremental steps. However small, they are always in the positive. Because that is how we shall eventually turn the tide and the fortunes that will ultimately improve our working conditions. Honorable members, I want to take this opportunity today to give you this chronology of 5 years in the effort we have actually put in. And it should be appreciated that the gains we have made are a result of the resilience and the trust that members have given us. Many are the times, by the way, despite our best efforts to attempt to resolve various issues, arising matters at the university internally, and even cordially, we have actually sometimes been forced into litigation. And many times to use the tools available to us for industrial relations. I will attempt to conflate these 5 years under the following 8 bullet points. Hopefully, then we can take stock of the same, the office outgoing, and also the office incoming, that may use it as a baseline for continuity of UASU UON. These are the following 8 agenda items I want to conflate our 5 years. 4 years and 4 months. Number 1, the working structures of the union. Number 2, national industrial actions. Number 3, internal CBA 2017-2021. Number 4, university leadership and management. Number 5, health matters at the university staff clinic. Number 6, direct service provider payments. Number 7, promotions and appointments. And number 8, updates from our national office. Let me right away go to number 1, working structures of the union. Chairman has already mentioned, I want to reiterate, that the first thing we did when we came into office was to ensure a sequential repetition of this structure called the AGM. And we, as the officials, we have ensured that we have adhered to the dictates of our own UASU Constitution, Article 19D, that stipulates that every chapter must hold its annual general meeting and meet its members. Now, I want you to understand that this meeting is very central in giving an yearly examination of the union and a chance to also evaluate the performance of your own officials. The AGM was actually the first working structure that we re-established as a tradition. Secondly, as I reported in previous years, dealing with our internal issues at the university required a system that can be monitored and evaluated. And that is why we established working committees to oversee service delivery in various sectors. And we have kept re-engineering these working structures to adapt to various situations that we found ourselves in. These working committees included a committee on DSP, a committee to oversee service delivery at the staff clinic, a committee to work on the pending 2017-2021 CBA, a committee to deal with teaching practice payments, a committee dealing with clinical allowances payments, a committee to further our academic objectives, and lastly, a committee to handle the benevolence of our departed members and their families. Now, each one of these committees gave us an opportunity to objectively evaluate yearly and follow through the gains the union was making. And these gains have been notable. And I'm only going just to conflict just a few so that you can see. For one, UASU reset how teaching practice was handled. Moving forward, entire retinue about teaching practice rested, took it back to its mother faculty. Secondly, as we stand here, 56 members of UASU have benefited from an academic stipend we introduced, enabling them to travel all over the world in their quest for academic excellence. Thirdly, we have also created a very seamless, benevolent benefit for our members. These days, it's not about who you know or anything like that. No. Once one of us is bereaved, there is a structure, and we have lived perfectly within its margins to ensure that our members benefit from it. It's always unfortunate when we lose a member, and that is why we said it must be an objective way of handling it. And this shows you that the current crop of leadership cared very deeply for its members. Thirdly, we also ensured that we stay in communication with our members. And that is why we set up a website dedicated to the chapter, www.wasunairobi.or.ke. And this website acts as a depository of all our activities and a digital diary for what we do. I want you to remind you also that this was the first among all the chapters of UASU in the country, a feat that was only emulated by the national office, albeit very poorly. In fact, right now as we speak, their site is down. Currently, our website tops any search engine visits of a trade union, not only in Kenya, but also worldwide, by the way, with a very healthy dose of site visits across the world. Now, such things might sound very mundane, but I can assure you that it is through this website that our industrial fights have actually found resonance across diverse audiences. And as part of staying connected to our members, we also made sure that we have presence across social media, including things like the X platform, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. We are going into a new age world, and we must embrace the tools of this new age. That's exactly what we did. And the intention was simple. Our members must be heard. And I know the organizing secretary mentioned, yes, we get abused and all that. That is the whole point of being in a kitchen. It's never fuzzy. It's always hot. And I can assure you, we can take it, because our resolve is to serve you. The last thing of the working structures that I would want to mention, this was a very contentious issue, is that we protected the union from external influence. We did not want government one time to blackmail us, which is why we went ahead against even our own bearing that we must pay statutory remittances to the Kenya Revenue Authority. And we remitted it, which was bearing over 5 years in a backlog arrears. Today, as I stand here, And our treasurer will actually show you we are on the cusp of actually being the first chapter to have been cleared by the Kenya Revenue Authority. And we have a certificate in our hands. This was protecting the union because we don't want us to go on strike one time and then the government dangles such a thing. That's the reason we did it. Those are the working structures, and I'm sure the treasurer will be talking a lot about that. Let me go to the second issue of the 5 years. National industrial actions. I want to give you just a brief overview. After UASU submitted its proposal for the CBA cycle 2021-2025, way back in September of 2020, government through IPUCCF went mute, despite numerous correspondences. And I am saying this because I'm aware there was one person within our membership who kept saying, you mean you waited all this time to do anything? I want you to understand, this is the reason why AGMs are important. Government went mute. We have various correspondences trying to resuscitate this talk about that CBA from 2020. In fact, in summary, movement on this matter was only instigated through a litigation process. We had to go to court. And that led to a court-directed negotiation process. And this court-directed negotiation is what eventually led to our first industrial action when the government reneged at the beginning of September 2023. And it's through the good faith of the union, after signing a return to work formula on 26th September of that year, that UASU called off its first industrial action. The government at the time had promised new salaries for academic staff starting from 1st of October at a cost of 9.7 billion. I know right now when you say 9.7 billion, people think it is new. No, it started way back. That industrial action yielded fruit, with the government ceding on the demands of the union, leading to the calling off the industrial action on the 23rd of November 2024. The summary of this agreement was as follows. Number one, that they computed sum to cover the CBA, inclusive of the pension component. And I want you to understand, when you talk about this pension component, we are among the very few and lucky universities that we actually do have this. Talking about chapters, not even very far away, 2 kilometers away, does not even have a pension. When they get their money, that's what they have. We do. A pension component, just, I wish Karen was here, Professor Karen Angima, to tell you. This is your money, 20% employer contribution, 10% from you. That money is yours. And from that 9.7 billion, it covers both. That is why even our members, as they retire off, when we have this thing called the Joint Local Implementation Committee, we sit there, and the only thing we always look for is show us the receipt going to pay Karen. Period. Times when we share, people share tables from other universities, say, to my viewer, it's a very understandable thing. But I want us to always remember one thing. We are very conscientious. We value your future after the university. This money must go there. And it does. Number two, there was no loss of income or victimization for anyone who participated. And I keep repeating this time and time again. As a union, we know how to take you out from your jobs. And we also know how to take you back to them. That's why I keep saying, when we stand up and say, come out, follow our directions, because we know what we are doing. This is what the union is for. That's why there was no victimization whatsoever. Number three, that CBA 2021-25 has now been signed, and it was consequently registered. We know, again, this is why the industrial actions kept coming and coming. The government paid one tranche. It was supposed to be in 3. They reneged on the second. We had to go for another industrial action lasting 39 days. And we made it. As we speak right now, keep your stopwatches on. Because as it hits 31st of December this year, we expect the government to live up to its promise. 50% must be in your accounts. This is why, as we were always on Great Court, moving all over, we kept telling people, this year, our members must at least have a Christmas they can be proud of. Value of which, of course, our industrial tool is always alive and waiting. We can only cross fingers and hope. And I don't want to speculate. Yes, we do have a lot of information about the same. So far as it is, if we have to listen to my rumor, I know that one of our own, who is now the treasurer, the cabinet secretary in treasury, the request was made. It was on his desk. And it is barely close to right now, close to around a week. I personally also talked to him. I said, you know what? I hope you are giving our members our money. He said, wacha kunisumbua, hii pesa mutapata. So let's keep those stopwatches going. And it was only after that CBA 2021-2025 had been registered that the Employment and Labor Relations Court triggered something which we had been waiting for. Thanks so much because of our uncertainty in leadership. That is when the retirement letters started coming out. And again, it was a fight. When I say there have been so many industrial actions, we are actually coming from one just barely last week when we had to picket. And I know we got a lot of flack from you, but this is the way you get things done. We have to picket. I looked at the statistics just around 2 days ago. I don't know why we are very reluctant to go and pick those letters. I urge you, please, go pick those letters. There are some people who are saying, all right, me, I want to take those letters, but I want to go. Yes, there is an option. We have not made it a closed shop that you must be here. We understand. There are some people who have actually served and wish to also go and start a different life. That option is yours. But for as long as the option existed for a longer stay, that is what we were chasing for. We must also acknowledge that there's a group of members whose retirement coincided with the signing of this CBA and whose salaries remain in pendency. Now, I can assure you, we are following through with that because some of them are very senior staffers who have been here for a long time, senior professors. You also have been paid the second tranche of the monies that were owed after all. That's why we keep saying every time we go out, we come back home with something. And we are waiting for that second tranche, 7.9, after the 39 days that you saw. So, honorable members, I want to reiterate, we will always win for as long as we stand together. Number 3, the internal CBA 2017-2021. On May 15th, 2022, I wrote a protest letter to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission for going against their own guidelines in the timelines for negotiating a CBA. 20th May of 2022, the CEO of SRC replied to my protest letter and confirmed having received the proposal of our CBA 2017-2021. And in this reply, the SRC confirmed, being in correspondence with the University Council, at that time, it was headed by Professor Miriam Mwere. Like I said, I want to show you where we have come from. Professor Miriam Mwere that time. However, as you are all aware, There was a change of government. Professor Miriam Were was one of the casualties in the reshuffle of government that followed. The whole council was disbanded. A new council came in, headed by Professor Mkoa Anangwe, and we had to start a new process of getting the new council appraised. For those who have been saying we have been delaying, I want you to see, this is what happened. On May 9th of 2023, 1 month after the new council took over, and I think you remember that time, we scramble every time there's a new council. We scramble immediately so that we can meet these council people. They are our employers. They should not shy away from meeting us. At that point in time, actually, we met Professor Mkoa Anangwe. And he said, go ahead and nominate your negotiators. And we gave the honor, again, pulling out from the ranks of UASU. We appointed Professor Samuel Nyandemo to be the co-chair of those negotiations. And we also picked Professor Stanley Ndwiga to be the co-secretary in those negotiations. Naturally, the National Secretary General comes the spokesperson. And I can tell you that we only got a counter offer to our proposal 7 years later. 7 years in December 2023. That is when we were given a counter offer. When Professor Mkoa Anangwe came. Now here is where the circus now took over again. Because in 8 months, the chapter kept demanding negotiations to this CBA. And we're also very careful. You just don't call for an industrial action. You wait for an opportune time. We pleaded, we cajoled, we did everything in our power, including writing another protest letter to the line ministry. And the University Council finally ceded to it. In August 2024, that is when the team of negotiators convened in Naivasha. And we signed the CBA. I want you to remember that. We did. However, before we could even... let me just go back in time to show you the inconsistencies before the signature. During our negotiations, we realized that the same council that was advising at that SRC was not allowing the university to give you any cent increase. They were receiving the same instruction from the same council. So council tells SRC, SRC echoes it back. And this is a good thing about having some experience in negotiation, because the first thing that we did was we told them that we have to sign the ground rules. Among those ground rules included that there has to be a sharing of information. When that information came to light, we told them there is no way you are actually blaming SRC, yet it is your advice that has actually led SRC to give us a zero CBA. Of course, this revelation meant that everything had to be postponed, because we told them, go back to the same SRC, tell them. The revelation, of course, led to a postponement. Further negotiations to the council, they had to go away and come back with an offer. And that was around 23rd of October. Amazingly, again, it was postponed because there was a reshuffle. We had new administrators, correspondence from the acting registrar that time, Ken Sawe. We kept bouncing back and forth between this bad faith, between this stammering leadership and unreliable character that was the hallmark of the university council that was headed by Professor Mkoa Anangwe. And it took a lot of lobbying and a very weird incident where the former council chair even attempted to suspend me from my job as a lecturer, senior lecturer here at the university. And this is why we keep saying, for you to actually count the union to serve it, you must have steel nerves. And I sued him, of course. I can confidently report right now that we triumphed yet again. UASU deposed that university council 7 days after Amkoa Anangwe left. We signed the CBA. 7 days after Amkoa walked off, our current acting vice chancellor was gracious enough. We signed that CBA. Let me go to number 4, and I want to hurry up so that you can actually be able to get all this, because it's quite a lot. Number 4, I said university leadership and management. Now, as you're aware, the chapter has previously litigated against the brazen manner by which university management initiated sweeping reforms. This is way back in 2020. When we came into office, remember, the first thing we did, we found the university in shambles. There was a restructuring process. So many things were happening. Departments being merged. Faculties collapsed. Everything was actually shambolic without your public participation. The first thing we did was to take that vice chancellor and the council to court. That's the first thing we did. Guess what? As usual, we always win. This is actually something that we can actually take pride about. At that time, when the vice chancellor noticed that he's going to lose, he came now to talk to us, and we told him to his face, we were not interested in jailing you because he was supposed to actually be sentenced. We put him down, we said, this is what we want to do. And this is what we did. Number 1, we signed a consent. All previously appointed executive deans, you remember them? We did away with that. We said all our deans must be elected. Number 2, we said deans cannot only serve 2 years. We took it to 3 years. This was this team doing that. We also initiated a process that Senate representatives, which previously was a foregone issue, must start being elected. And as we speak right now, there are Senate representatives in Senate elected by faculty. We also made sure that faculty committees become the decision-making organs in their respective faculties. We also ensured that departments that previously had been scrapped were brought back. And we're talking even things like geography, literature. You know, sometimes it's amazing that we actually have forgotten this was a forgotten issue. We, as UASU, made sure all that is brought back. And it was also agreed in our consent that there will never be a time when the university is being restructured without your input. However, as usual, at that time, remember it was Professor Miriam Mwere, the moment someone is, the council is dissolved, so does the agreements that you have made with those university administrators. Of course, it caught us by surprise. And this new appointment, and I'm going back again to Professor Amkoa Anangwe. I want you to actually just hear, because this was objective. It is a very objective situation. That appointment of Professor Amkoa Anangwe came with some of the most bizarre things that we had never seen here at the university, including appointment of people in positions which are unknown. We know what I'm talking about. Notably, this is the situation Professor Amkoa Anangwe left us, and which we are still in right now. No substantive vice chancellor till now. No substantive deputy vice chancellor till now. The entire UEB and UMB on the university, all in an acting capacity. Finance, procurement, estate, HR departments don't have substantive office holders. There must be a reason. Someone is doing this intentionally. And these are fulcrum offices that are supposed to support the vice chancellor in the discharge of her duty. Without going into the details, we really hated what we were seeing at that time. We booked appointment to see Honorable Ezekiel Mashogu that time. Here's the strange thing. We saw Honorable Ezekiel Machogu in his office, and exactly 10 days later, he was fired and they appointed Honorable Migos Ogamba. That is what happened. We made another appointment to see Dr. Beatrice Nyangala, and we saw her. We tabled all our things. And the first thing also we told her, we need to tell Migos Ogamba to his face the problems that are happening at the University of Nairobi. So lest we forget, this university thrives because we embrace diversity of thought, meritocracy, and we abhor parochial thinking. We really do, and sycophancy. We don't like that. Number 5 thing, health matters at the university health staff clinic. I think this has been handled by our working committee on the same. We actually presented a report on what a level 4 hospital is supposed to look like, complete with its staffing. We did a report on this and we actually submitted it, but it has been stammering, especially once there was a lady there called Dr. Lucy Muhia. Once she left, she really had actually given it a good shot. Her departure, coupled with the uncertainty in leadership at council, it really mired up things. As we speak right now, we are actually trying the best we can to show up all our energies to ensure the staff clinic comes back to its normal. DSP payments, that's number 6. It's been a thorny issue, DSP. We formed a committee on the same without even going to the history to show you the interventions that UASU made, including many times over bringing members of faculty, like the Faculty of Health Sciences. We actually sat with the VC one time and negotiated an immediate disbursement of close to around 25 million, increased to even 40 million. What we have come to find out is that matters of DSP are quite individual to faculties. It's the reason why we rested the entire committee, and we now subjected that every faculty has to take care of its own needs with the support of UASU. Number 7, promotions and appointments. Now you'll remember the chapter negotiated. This team is the one which negotiated that graduate assistants and tutorial fellows do not need to go for an interview. They have to be promoted administratively the moment they are through with their PhDs. This is the team that did it. And I want to share you just statistics and a last bit of why we think it is important fulcrum offices must be populated with experienced personnel. This is how the statistics look like. In 2019, only 21 people were promoted. In 2019, 21. 5 professors and 16 associate professors. In 2020, COVID came. We had to re-engineer the way interviews had to be done and embrace the very fact that you could do it online. And that is the lowest that we ever had. 4 professors and 1 associate professor in the entire university, meaning only 5 people in 2020 were promoted. That's the time we were coming in 2021, we negotiated. And we made sure that it must come back to you members now. These are the statistics from when you came to office. 2021, 1 full professor, associate professor, 16, senior lecturers, 22, lecturer, 14, total, 53, when we just walked into office, and that was barely 4 months. 2022, we had a longer stay. And we say we have now to put the gas on the pedal. This is what happened in 2022. Full professors, 7. Associate professors, 20. Senior lecturers, 23. Lecturers, 61. A total of 121. We kept our food on the gas pedal again. So in 2023, this is the statistics. Full professor, 30. Associate professor, 35. Senior lecturers, 53. Lecturer, 10. Because remember, we are now making sure that it's administrative. And lastly, the tutorial fellows, who had actually been absorbed, 5. Total, 133. That means an exponential growth. Going to last year, look at the statistics again. Full professor, 15. Associate professor, 83. Senior lecturers, 31. Lecturers, 11. Tutorial fellows, 0. Because like we said, movement is upward. Total number, 140. The statistics for this year, and this is the reason why we are saying fulcrum offices that are supposed to support the Vice Chancellor need to be empowered, need to be populated by some of our best administrators and most experienced. We are aware. People like Bernard Juguna, they were thrown in Kisumu. We know why. But those are very accomplished administrators. As we speak right now, we have, and I'm sorry to say, but I have to speak as a unionist. The kind of greenhorns that are actually populating your HR are the reason why we don't even have correct statistics this year. And I'm reporting to you because as late as even yesterday, I was trying to get someone in HR to tell us the statistics so that we can inform you members. But you can see, just because we are having greenhorns holding these positions, this is the consequence. We will keep endeavoring to make sure that these promotions are sustained. Lastly, national office updates. There's quite a lot which has happened in the national office, but the bottom line is this. University of Nairobi needs to be on that table. If you're not on that table, look at what has happened. For the past 5 cycles, I've ensured that I give them an invitation so that they come here, so that you members can also interrogate them. Are they here? No. But now you can imagine if at all we are the ones who are donating people into the national office. We will stand here and be talking as UASU, as it was meant to be, because this is the birthplace of UASU and no one should actually kid around with it. On top of it, we are actually the biggest financial muscle that national office runs. But here is the weird part, that we have the least influence in there, because as the constitution was crafted, our voting power is similar to a university with basically 20 people. This must change. But it can only change when demagoguery is also chanted. And we were actually chanting that demagoguery when the National Secretary General attempted to bring these bad manners that we know of in politics. We are not going to allow that people want to give themselves an opportunity to continue ad infinitum in their service. No, we are done. So we have to have decency. You serve your time, you go back to class. Because this is not anything but a tour of duty. No one should imagine that they have a birthright to be in UASU. You serve and you go back so that we can actually be able to sit up on you. Succession planning is something that we must do. So ladies and gentlemen, as we close 2025, our hopes are very high. We will triumph, like I said, if we stick together. And I want to be the first to also thank you very much. Because coming towards the end of the year, I had a personal challenge and I had to share with you. It's not an easy thing to do. But I really thank you for actually standing with me. And I hope we all keep standing with each other in times of need. And that is why, as I conclude this, I want to say it has been an honor and a really great honor for you to have actually granted this team the honor of serving you for the past 4 years, 4 months. And I finish by saying, solidarity forever, members. Lastly, may I take this opportunity to wish you and your families a Merry Christmas and a very prosperous 2026. Asanteni sana, it has been quite long, but then 5 years is also 4 years and 4 months is also not a short time. Thank you very much. Organizing Secretary, I know I've really eaten out on your time. Thank you.